Hi everyone, this is Amy at Ivy League Guide, and this is the Future Ivy Show where we do one-on-one coaching with a future Ivy student. And today I'm going to welcome on Tiffany Lam. She's an incoming senior from North Carolina who's interested in community planning. And so we're going to go through each of the 7 steps in the Future Ivy book so you can see it applied and so that you can also stand out to your dream school. All right, I will bring on Tiffany now, and we will have you introduce yourself. Hey, Tiffany, good to see you.
Hi, Amy. It's so nice to see you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
well, my name is Tiffany, and I am a rising senior, like Amy said. And I'm planning on so far to major in urban planning. Um, but I do want to end up maybe like in law one day, and maybe like a lawyer, like Amy in her book.
Yes, I did want to be a lawyer. I've changed, but that's okay. Things happen. So it sounds like overall you were interested in like community planning, and then maybe I saw in your application, I think security law. Can you tell me more about that interest?
Um, urban planning because I think it fits more into my extracurriculars and what I have to offer. But
Okay.
then securities law, I've always been interested, and similar to the last person that you talked to about like finance and learning about the world of kind of money, I guess, rather than business in a way. And so I just maybe want to venture into that, hopefully.
Gotcha. So it sounds like similar to the last conversation, money, business, you kind of want to venture into that side of things, maybe
Mhm.
later on. Okay,
Mhm.
sounds good. All right, let's start with achieve the 7 steps. So, what's the first step? Kind of how are you feeling about this step? Aim for A's in advanced classes.
I do think I am taking the hardest classes at my high school that I know of.
Nice.
Um, and but like on how difficult my high school is, um, we don't offer IB courses,
Okay.
number one, and then but I am taking like the APs, all the APs
Okay.
that I can, and
Okay.
yeah, so there's that.
All APs.
Yeah.
So I think there's some kind of maybe misconceptions that students typically have with this, in that they think that they need to take the hardest curriculum in the U.S. or just like in the world, and it's more so that colleges don't penalize. They won't penalize you if your school isn't rigorous. There's some schools that don't have AP or honors or IB programs, but it's like, how are you doing in comparison to the people in your school and the people that are in the AP programs at your school. So my question to you is, are you taking as many AP classes or advanced honors classes as the peers in your school that are advanced students?
I am, and then along
Okay.
with some community college classes. Um,
Okay.
yeah,
That's
I'm
awesome.
taking 3 right now during the summer.
Yeah. How do you like doing the dual enrollment and taking community classes? How's that
I
been?
I love it. I love it. It's sometimes more harder than well, sometimes harder than taking AP classes. But the professors are serious about like the lectures and stuff like that, which I really appreciate. And so it's like an
Yeah.
effective class. Yeah.
That's awesome. What are you taking at the community college?
Well, I took classes that I just wanted to take. But after talking more with advisors, I'm taking classes that are like gen eds for urban planning. And so I'm taking biology. Right now I took sociology, English 111, and I'm going to take English 112. I'm taking stats right now and psychology and philosophy. Um, and then I took communications, public speaking, American government, um, and
This is
yeah,
at the community college, or this is in the high school that you're at?
community college.
You've taken so many classes at the community college.
Mhm. Yeah, I really
That's
enjoy
amazing.
them. It's
That's
those are more like more than my high school does, and I also wasn't able to take AP classes freshman year, and there was only one AP class offered to underclassmen when I was a sophomore.
That's normal.
Mm.
Yeah, that's pretty normal. I in my high school we had no APs really until your junior year, so it just really depends on your school, and that's okay if you didn't have the APs, they're not going to penalize you for that. But it
Right.
sounds like you've done a lot of exploration at your community college,
Mm-hmm.
which I mean that just shows that you're really stretching yourself and prioritizing your learning. So that's really great to see.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Thank you.
awesome.
Yeah,
What's kind of
oh,
go
sorry.
ahead.
They've like changed it now, so like more underclassmen are taking more AP classes. I didn't know that until I saw them doing that, because when I was an underclassman, I like didn't have that. So I think they've changed it now.
They've changed it where it's easier to do dual enrollment, or they've changed
Just
kind
make
of
like more AP classes are offered to students under
okay. Wow,
Mhm.
that's awesome. When you kind of think about the community college classes, which classes kind of made the biggest impact on you? Which classes did you like the most, and how is it different than high school taking those
Um,
classes?
I think right now philosophy, because I'm like my book list is like I've added so many philosophy books and about philosophers, um, and it's just so like um, the reading is so dense, but it like you learn a lot, and I see also like I can apply what I learned in philosophy to psychology, especially and as well as like in writing or in public speaking. Um, but so
Wow.
wait, I'm sorry. What was the question?
I was just, yeah, I was curious about what class you really liked. I think that most schools don't even have a philosophy or sociology or even like, I know that when I was in high school, we didn't have advanced psychology or anything like that. So I was taking like psychology classes, and I just think it's amazing that you're really exploring all the different classes the community college has.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
thank you.
Sweet. So how have you talked to kind of how's your relationship with your school counselor? Have you talked to them about your classes? Have you talked to them about grades and things like that yet?
I talk to the career development counselor like pretty frequently. Um, and she like has tried to help me like with internships and with like planning stuff like that, but we haven't really um like moved on or like took an actual step forward because many of the opportunities are like pretty close at the place I'm living at, like at the location I am in. So like there's like we're pretty like low on like internship opportunities. But I'm in like close contact with her. Um, and then with like my high school counselor, I ask her lots of questions. And um, yeah, I'm like pretty. She knows my name, so
Okay.
I'm yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I know that a lot of students kind of are nervous at first to kind of talk to the career counselor or their guidance counselor. How did you kind of get over that initial nervousness, or how did you kind of start that relationship with your career
Um,
counselor and guidance counselor?
well, like it began when I wanted to change my classes. I believe freshman year. Um, and then as well as sophomore year, I had difficulty choosing my classes freshman year, and so I asked for help. And then I wanted to take out a class sophomore year, and it didn't work, but I brought my mom along with me, and that process it went by like so smooth, and they were so like accommodating, even though I couldn't actually take out a class. Um, and because I always wanted to take dance, I like
Ooh,
talked about that with my counselor, but that didn't happen as well because like there's like full seats at my high school, but yeah, my counselor she's just like been like I've always like come to her with questions in that way. Yeah.
nice. Sounds like in the beginning you kind of started the relationship because you needed to change some classes, and
Mhm.
then over time, it was kind of like just bringing more questions to them, and then that kind of helped the relationship with their counselor.
Like asking like all these things, you're like your counselor is something that like they might be the only person that can give you something, like for example an SAT fee waiver, something like that. You have to reach out to your counselor. So I think it's important to start out early and to let out of like 200 students, 300 students, they have like a lot to handle and a lot of names to remember. So it's important to put out your name and introduce yourself early.
Yeah, no, and I just want to highlight a key point that you said, especially if you're a low-income student, like I was when I was applying colleges, they do hold the keys to, like you said, the SAT fee waiver. There's also some fee waivers for the UC system in California, and there's a lot of other scholarship programs that they may be aware of. I'm curious, have you heard about those from your counselor? How have you kind of navigated your way around the more financial aid scholarship side of things?
I talked to my A push, so AP US history teacher, and we emailed each other back and forth about my interests too. And so I got to like chat with him, and then he sent me like a small list of scholarships, really attainable scholarships too. And he like talks about that a lot with his students. He has like thick books of 2020 scholarships, 2021 scholarships for minority students, and things like that. And so I kind of like talk with my teachers more than my counselor.
That's awesome that he does that, because that's like not AP US history curriculum, but that's like so useful for students.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's like known for that in my high school. So like a bunch of students come to him for a scholarship aid.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, and there's so many great scholarships, especially if you're a top performing student. Like I think you mentioned your application, like the Questbridge program, and then also like Harvard has really generous financial aid. So does Yale. A lot of the top schools do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was looking at Questbridge, and then I didn't realize that I missed. It was like their like scholar, um, like I guess like to apply like for their like summer classes, and I was eligible for that, unfortunately, but I like didn't like see the deadline. But I emailed them, and so I'm hoping to apply for that when I'm a senior.
Which program is that you're hoping to apply for?
It wasn't the National College, but it was the summer scholars, like where they give you like pre-college classes to like Yale and University of Chicago, because someone in my school got into that, and so people were talking about that. But I think I had a lot of schoolwork during that, and so I didn't see that. But instead, I applied to like 2 summer schools that I got in, and so I'm happy about that.
Oh, that's awesome. We'll talk about that later in the extracurricular section. All right, that's what I want to see. What do you remember? What C stands for in Achieve?
Conduct activity audit.
Yes. So how do you feel about this step? Have you conducted one? What does your time kind of look like right now when you think about where you're spending the most time?
Right now it's the 3 summer classes that I'm taking, but I plan on having a college list, and I'm going to write like kind of give my teacher a sheet for a teacher recommendation.
Nice.
But I just got like 2 officer roles for 2 clubs, and then I'm starting a club right now with someone, and so just this will actually starting Monday, we're going to be talking about like how we can fundraise for like a $100, $200 scholarship for people at our high school.
Okay, that's awesome. Tell me more about that club that you're starting. How did that come about? What's the purpose of the club?
So it's for all high school students, but it started first, our motive was for first generation and minority students, for the college process, because it's just the internet has so many resources, but many people, they just don't know about those resources. And so we wanted to like make people aware of that. And so now we're just like looking to help for all students and give access to resources and like opportunities, and not just for college, but like just for high school help.
High school help as well.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
because there's like classes that people don't know about, that like, it would be amazing for them to take because it leads them to like their interests, stuff like that.
What's an example of that?
Like there is a nursing program.
Mm.
It's kind of like a program at my high school, but so many people didn't like had no idea about that. And then including the person that I'm starting the club with, and that was kind of her intended pathway, medicine, working something with kids, and that would have really helped her and kind of like started somewhere for her, but she didn't know that, and then now it's like kind of too late to take those classes, and she wants to like kind of prevent that same thing from happening to other people.
Yeah. No, that's really good. I think that's amazing that you're starting something that it sounds like you're facing these challenges right now and you kind of want to make it easier for the next group of students that come through your high school. And
Mm-hmm.
almost like, yeah, make the high school a better place than when you had come there.
Mm-hmm.
How was that process? So a lot of students struggle with trying to figure out what club to start and just like getting it off the ground, getting that paperwork done. What advice would you have for someone that wants to start a club but not sure what to start?
Well, you don't have to start a club that will even like be something like this. You can start one for like your own self interest, whether it's like food or video games. It doesn't have to be like, oh, we're trying to like reach other students and form like better connections with them and teachers. Like I tried to create a debate club sophomore year, and that didn't work out. But now there's two debate clubs at my school, and so you could choose one like a club that like, because I didn't have a debate club at my school, and so that was the reason I wanted to create one, even though I knew nothing about it. And so that's like something that you could do. You could like do some research about it, and then talk to some teachers that are available, and then yeah, create something like that your school doesn't provide. But really, it just begins with like talking to teachers, and more times than not, like 9 times out of 10, they'll be like so happy to invest time in that, and they'll be so interested and so willing to help.
Gotcha. So it sounds like you kind of started from your interest. And it's also interest plus things that you know about because, right, like I think it sounds like you started debate club, but you didn't really know much about it. And so it was kind of difficult to get that off the ground. But for this club, you're really interested in this. This is what you want to do in the future, community planning. And it's something that you're personally going through right now so that you have personal experience to help people with.
Right, yeah.
That makes sense. Awesome. So, in terms of, have you done an activity audit before? I saw your application. You have a lot of different clubs, different involvement with like Honor Society, Key Club. Have you kind of thought about doing an activities audit?
No, I haven't.
I think it's going to be more and more important as you enter your senior year and you're starting a club. What would you do if you only if you had an extra 10 hours per week? What would you do with that time?
I think like spend more time looking for scholarships, and then invest myself more in like what I can do in extracurriculars, and like creating my own extracurriculars, and as well as the clubs that I'm already in, as in like helping more, providing more of a helping hand, and helping other students, I think.
Okay, that's good. So in order to get an extra 10 hours per week, it involves cutting down some of the activities that you're in. And so if you only had time for 1 to 2 activities, what would those be? Like, how could you make the most impact in your community?
That would be difficult to say, but I think the club I'm starting in, since it's important to show that you can create your own extracurricular, and then the club I'm in, and then I guess like the clubs at my high school. But right now, I'm starting to be a team member at this in the Boys and Girls Club, and then working with or just helping other girls like in this club, and just like volunteering that way. So I might spend more time in that.
Okay, so it sounds like maybe your club. I know you have a couple clubs at school, and then it sounds like your Boys and Girls Club
Mm-hmm.
volunteering. So that's more than 2 activities. So if you only had time for 2 activities, how could you make the most difference in your community? Or another way to answer it is like, what would you most enjoy doing?
Yeah, that's like it's hard to say. I think well, definitely working with people is something I really enjoy. Um, Maybe I think honestly, like if I do find an internship, getting into that. Um, but like I do not have an internship yet. But it's more of things that I'm looking to attain um soon, rather than continuing what I have now compared to that, since it's mainly like clubs. But I do want to look more into like research opportunities with a professor, which I've been meaning to do this year. So stuff like
Okay.
yeah. So I
So it
guess
sounds
looking
like
for more opportunities.
you would prioritize maybe looking for a research opportunity with a professor. I think you also mentioned something about looking for more scholarships.
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, sounds good. All right, we'll keep working on this because I know you have a
Mhm.
lot of activities, and it's super hard to quit things that you're in. I think there's just like some obligation, or you get a officer position, and so you kind of feel like, oh, I should kind of continue on with this. But typically, with being a really advanced student like you are, just the amount of AP homework that you have, studying for, I don't know, are you taking the SAT, ACT, kind of that stuff? That takes a lot of
Mhm.
time. Writing college essays, preparing for the FAFSA, which is like the financial side of the application. It's really difficult to do more than 1 to 2 things well.
It
And
is. Yeah.
so when you have like 5 different activities that you're doing, what happens is you typically don't do any of them well. And so sometimes it's better just to pick and choose which one you're going to actually spend your time on.
Hmm.
So we'll keep working on that one. But H, so help your teachers help you. Have you identified 2 teachers that you'll ask for recommendations?
I have. Yeah.
Okay. How did you identify which teachers those were, and how did you ask them?
Um, so I number one, I chose my Spanish teacher first. I had her for 2 years, and so that I guess that's expected. But we like I've always had like a great relationship with her, and I had her one of her classes online, and I think that made me stand out in a way compared to other students, since I always like came there, was one of like the early students, and I was like the last one to stay there and to chat with her. um and so that really uh you know let me have a close relationship with her. And I also would ask her for some teacher recommendations when I would like apply to different things. um there's that, and she's also the one of the advisors for the club I'm starting. And then
Okay.
yeah, and so I do like chat with her pretty frequently. And then and it also aligns with like something I'm really interested in learning about, which is Spanish. Um, and then my second teacher, which is my AP Environmental Science, she's actually leaving, and so this is why I'm like getting in the teacher recommendation now. But same thing like online. I helped other students in the class, and I was always putting like extra effort into all the work, and she knew that. And so I think that it was pretty like expected for me to ask her.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it sounds like, okay, so your Spanish teacher, to develop that relationship, you stayed after class to chat with her. You've also already asked her for recommendation letters, so you kind of already, she probably already has one that she can use, and so it's going to be like much easier. And then you're interested in Spanish, which is awesome, so it sounds like that relates. And then she's also the advisor of the club that you're starting.
Mm-hmm.
How was that, asking her to kind of become the advisor? How'd that kind of go?
She well, first she was like very hesitant because she was like, you guys might need to help me more than like I can help you guys, because this is like, she never advised a club before. But I'm very used to like working with her in the things that I ask her to do, like the teacher recommendations. I helped her like have a letterhead, create a letterhead, since she didn't know what that was and didn't know how to create one. And so I'm like very used to like just like working with her and just like taking initiative in what we're doing. And so yeah, and I think she really appreciates that too.
So it sounds like even though she was initially hesitant, because you've already helped her with so many things, like when she had questions, you could help her with the letterhead, etc. She felt like more comfortable becoming the advisor of your club.
Mm-hmm, yeah. Yeah,
That's
it was.
amazing.
Yeah, she was very like unsure about it, but we spoke, and then after like 2 minutes, she was like, "Okay, like I'm so happy to do it." So.
Oh, that's amazing. I think it's going to be an awesome club, and I can't wait to see where you take it.
Thank
And then
you.
how would you kind of, what are things that you can do to help your teachers during the summertime?
During the summertime, um, well, definitely they do want to like appreciate their like summer, their time off from school, but also like just like emailing them back in the Asian Student Association, um, like association that I'm in. Like my teacher, she emailed me during the summer because I was like um, asking her. I was like just having like genuine questions about something, and then so it's just like she knows like I'm genuinely interested and I have questions, and so she like sends me books to read and like links to articles. And so something like that where like you show that you're just like interested in learning and you just show your academic curiosity, um, is something that will let teachers get in touch with you, and just like with a simple email um, is what
Okay.
I do. Yeah.
So it sounds like you overall, like through the summer, you're still keeping in touch with them, you're still emailing them and reading and taking in all the information that they're sending you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So what are ways that you feel like during the school semester starts, how can you kind of help them more in the classes or with their students?
Um, for the AB classes, I would send like channels that I'm watching to help me study, or like review guides, and then my teachers really appreciated that by like posting it on like the Google Classroom, telling it to other students like this is great. And I know my science teacher, she really used it, so I'm really happy with that. And so just showing that you care about other student success too, and that you're doing something outside of the classroom, since they like really emphasize on like self-studying outside, and being independent in that way, and yeah, other like discipline, little discipline acts like that, just like whenever I had questions, I'd go to office hours, and then attend the meetings and like just chat with my teacher.
I wanted to highlight something you said because I think that's super smart. So it sounds like you were just doing some studying, you were doing review guides, you were maybe looking up some videos for biology and found some channels that might be helpful for other students. So you gave them to your teachers so that you could help other students with their learning. I'm sure they really appreciated that. That's a
Mm-hmm.
great way to help your teacher because ultimately, why did they become a teacher?
To just like help others, like to literally educate other people.
Yeah, totally. And so, like, providing those resources, some people are more like video learners or auditory learners. And so, like, those resources that you provided them, I think really helps out the class and your teacher teach and educate better.
Yeah,
So,
like just
amazing.
really talking to them is like that really does help them, um, because it lets them know like where their students are, if anything is like too challenging, or like, or like maybe like even giving recommendations, like book recommendations, or like saying, can we go over this again? Just stuff like that, will really help your
Mm.
teacher.
So even like maybe in class, you can kind of sense everyone's not getting something or it went too fast, and just saying, "Hey, like, can we review that again? It was
Mm,
uh,
right.
I'm not sure." That can help
Yeah.
your teacher as well because they need
Yeah.
the feedback. They don't know. It's like through
Mhm.
screen. So
Yeah.
I know I
Asking
appreciate
important
that.
questions. Yeah. Yeah. Asking important questions will definitely help too.
Ask what do you mean by that? Asking important questions?
Um, as in like, sometimes using like critical thinking, and then just like maybe like they show like a video or something, and then I had a question in the video. I'm like, so if this is A and this is B, then like how does this turn out? And just asking stuff like that will
Mm-hmm.
really help, not only yourself but them too, because like they might be like learning something new along with you, or they're like, so happy to just like explain more about a topic, that will really help teachers.
I like that. Yeah, so it's like taking the information and then seeing like kind of maybe contextualizing it in terms of the
Mhm.
lesson or understanding like how it links to something else that you've learned.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So next step is I, ignite your interest. So here, kind of how do you feel with this step? Have you talked to people in urban planning or community planning? Have you kind of really identified what career choices do you want to pursue?
Um, I think it is still like a work in progress. I'm still organizing that. Um, but I have like tried to look at like opportunities where I can like physically help my community, as in like gardening, excuse me, or like um, even like planting trees and just like actual physical labor work like that, which is like what I do a lot for my community service, and like doing that at like um, in certain centers or locations at where I'm at. Um, but I haven't like really reached out to people who have majored in that. Um, but that's like something I want to do for like when looking at research with a professor. But my counselors have told me to like cold email lawyers. Maybe if I can like shadow them, or if there's like an internship they have.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Yeah. This one is something that it's hard to really know what you want to do unless you kind of try it, like the shadowing. And then in order to get those opportunities, you kind of have to put yourself out there and message people that you don't know or ask people you do know and see if someone knows an urban planner or someone that maybe works in the city government. And
Mhm.
so, kind of on this note, how did you get interested in urban planning? Was there someone in particular that you were inspired by in your community that does urban planning?
Um, I well, it started with looking at majors in colleges, but when I saw UNC, and so like I saw a Chapel Hill professor, and she was Vietnamese like me, and then she what she did was actually like build like housing development in places in Vietnam, and that like really inspired me because that connects to a lot of my interests. And she did a lot with like urban planning, and so I was like, oh, like, you know, she can do this. And that's something that seems really cool to me, that it's something that I think that I want to get into as well.
Okay, so it sounds like you were on the website and then you kind of would look at different colleges and you found this professor and then
Mm-hmm.
you were kind of reading through her bio and then inspired by what she was doing.
Right, yeah. And so
Gotcha.
yeah, looking at that too and how it aligned with my interests, it just kind of like made sense as a major for me to
So,
take.
so when you talk about it aligns with your interests, which interests specifically do you feel it aligns with?
Mainly volunteer work, since I like do like work a lot in like fields and like work with plants and stuff like that, which is really working on a community. And so like just like going to different places, and then just working on stuff like that is what I was like, oh wait, this works with urban planning, and so like I should continue this. Um, yeah.
Okay. And so this is work with like the parks, it sounds like, or kind of what do you mean by like gardening and what type of work
Um,
is that?
well, there's like a Raleigh Parks and Recreational Center where they have like just different areas, different like different parks, like you said, and then there's like community centers where people who like do summer camps go to, and then uh, you know, if you're a volunteer there, then you'll have like gloves, and then you'll have like a tool, and then you'll really just like work like around the building, and mainly outside. It's yeah, like it's always outside. And then just like do that with other people, and so that some yeah, stuff like that.
Okay. So it is work with the city, and so you're helping like the parks and the community kind of with the gardening and the infrastructure.
Yeah.
Okay. That's awesome. So on this one for I ignite your interest, what are your next steps here with figuring out deeper if this is urban planning is what you want to do?
um I think to do that is to reach out to professors, I think, and then maybe ask some questions. There are like maybe like interviews that you can do right now during college tours, and then maybe ask to have like an interview with a professor under that. Maybe like I'll ask a professor in urban planning, um, and then just like ask more questions and see if this is something that I really want to move forward with.
Yeah, I definitely like that. And maybe even the professor that inspires you at UNC. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, people like to, what I've found throughout I've cold emailed like hundreds and hundreds of people in my lifetime. I do it all the time whenever I'm considering a new career, whether that's fashion, whether that's consulting to banking. I always ask for advice. I think it's very helpful to talk to someone who's actually doing it. But people like to help people that are similar to them or inspired by them, and so it kind of sounds like it's a good fit in that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
What's kind of stopped you from cold emailing people?
I
What
think
like what?
just time, to be honest, but um, I've been like really been meaning to for months now to have an email template, just because I think that thought is very like intimidating, right? To do that because these are um, professors who just like, you know, are just amazing at what they're doing, and so just like that. But my counselor, I told her about this, and she was like, I'm happy to just like review your email template and then make sure it's good to go before you cold email. But she was I talked to my teacher and she was like, just remember, like, don't be discouraged because it's a numbers game. And, it's hard to show what you can do as a high school student, what you can offer. But, she's like, hopefully there'll be someone willing to. You just have to be persistent and just, keep cold emailing.
Yeah, well, that's really good advice. It is a numbers game. Like some of the students I've coached, they've sent out 20 emails and they get a lot of responses, and some have sent out hundreds and get very few responses. I think like students I've mostly kind of in the average would be like around 200. Send out 200 cold emails and you can get like a couple calls. That's the more personalized that you can make it. So like that's why I feel like if you reached out to the UNC professor, you have a lot in common with this professor, and so the more likely she will be able to help you versus a blank template that's really generic. I want to be a doctor, and like emailing that to every med school professor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is definitely something to think about. I'll add her on my professor list.
Yes, for sure. Okay, so let's go to E. Execute your theme. What do you think your college theme is right now?
I guess I was thinking community service, but so many students I think are like that, and that's because that's like I've been doing that since middle school, but I don't count what I did in middle school, but obviously for a long time, kind of like the longest extracurricular that I've been doing. And so probably that, and just like honestly, just like volunteering in different places, like the library that I've been going to since I was like super small, or like the outside work that I do, or like the volunteering where I'll just like meet with like these little girls and like do arts, or like play sports, or like just like do random activities like that.
Where do you kind of what so you're right, it's true. Like a lot of students do community service, and a lot of people do think it's kind of like more of a numbers game. You get like 1,000 hours of community service, and you'll get into a good school. And it's more so kind of what type of impact are you really trying to make in your community? Like what do you like about doing these activities? This community, like you mentioned, the library, the park. I believe it's the Boys and Girls Club that you're kind of at.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what makes you enjoy those kinds of activities?
I think maybe just like involving myself in something bigger than me, and and yeah, it's just like sometimes when it's like you'll have like limited opportunities, something like this just seems like really the best thing that you can do um, to like step out of your zone and like try something new and be uncomfortable, and so to grow yourself, but also just like just like touch other people's lives in different ways. So I think kind of that.
Okay, so you mentioned being bigger, something bigger than yourself. And so when you kind of look at all the volunteer activities that you've done since middle school, what do you kind of see as maybe the theme across those activities? Because you could have done something completely different. Like you could have, I don't know, been involved at your middle school and been more involved in the educational side of things. Where do you kind of see how did you kind of pick the activities that you wanted to do for volunteering?
Um, well, honestly, just like what like opportunities we did find, and like that includes like my mom just like searching for those. Um, but it was all of it. I guess something that they all have in common is like just helping people who are looking to be helped, like in the food bank that I'm working at, where I'll like directly hand over like packages to people who needed that, right? Or like at the library where it's little kids who are looking like to have someone to read to them or to have like a little creative activity to do. So something like that.
Okay, that makes sense. So helping people that want to be helped. How do you kind of see that fit in with your urban planning dream career goal?
I think because it's just all like being active in a community, I guess, and yeah, sometimes doing labor work, sometimes like just talking, but yeah.
Gotcha. And I know you haven't talked to an urban planner yet, but what's kind of like the sense of what they do on a day-to-day basis?
Um, Honestly, my professor asked me too, like, do you know what planning is? And I was like, no. But I think like working with architects and applying like um, concepts to cities, some like math concepts, and
Okay.
I guess yeah, just like structuring a map um, and like doing it that way and being strategic and like their facilities and like um, the like culture they'll bring um, to like places. But I think that's what they do on a day to day.
Okay. How can you find out? Like
Um,
with talking to people, but also not talking to people, what are ways that you can find out what an urban planner actually does?
by like using your online sources and like just researching that and there's like videos online to see that, and then as well as like the colleges that someone is hoping to apply for. Um, I guess like going on their professors' um, websites and then seeing some of their work.
Yeah, those are really good suggestions. I think there's probably a lot of stuff they could find online, like what an urban planner does, maybe some interviews that have been done with urban planners. So you can kind of see like how they talk to the press, like what projects they're involved in. And I'm guessing, like, what do you think about your community? How can you maybe meet an urban planner in your community?
Um, I guess like face to face, like
Okay.
like to meet like how to create a conversation with them. It's like
Yeah. So I guess like where would you find the urban planner in your community? How would you find them?
um just reaching out and like calling the colleges in your area, and
Okay.
then yeah, and then maybe like um maybe seeing if like you can have an interview or like talk to someone then.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I guess I was wondering maybe this is an assumption that I have, and it might be wrong. So I don't know that much about urban planning, but it sounds like it might be like a government job or maybe like employed by the city, and so there might be a way you can find that on the city website or the county kind of website and see if there's any urban planners that you can just contact with their government email.
Oh,
So
okay. Yeah, I'll try that. I did not even know, and so I'll look at that.
yeah, it might be public information, especially if they employ urban planners by the government. Or it might be, if it's private, there might be like consulting companies with urban planners that you could probably email and reach out to. But LinkedIn, I think, will be a good source for you.
Mhm.
Have you used LinkedIn before? What are your thoughts on LinkedIn?
I do need to create an account. I'm like, I think I'm just like scared to do one since it's like, I think it's like a move forward, I guess. But I looked at like countless LinkedIn's of professors and of like college students, and even like the student at my high school who got into Brown, since I was like the first person I knew who got into an Ivy, like looking at that. But yeah, just like looking at whatever my like what like without an account, it'll let me see, I guess. So I
Yeah,
haven't
definitely.
opened an account yet, but that's what I'm looking to do.
Okay. So yeah, I think LinkedIn would be really good for you. You could search like urban planner and be able to get a huge list and then message a bunch of people. And in LinkedIn, you don't have to even send them an email. It's like a short 150 characters, maybe like 2, 3 sentences. And so it's not as, I would say, intensive as cold emailing
To
someone.
message people on LinkedIn.
Yeah, it's like a lot shorter, like the messages that you would be able to send. So that
Uh,
might make it easier for you to kind of reach out to people.
mhm.
Yeah, sweet. So overall, what do you think when you think about your theme? What are the activities that you've done that are related to your theme?
Um, Volunteer work, and then I think regarding activities, I think just volunteer work.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
How do you think you can make this kind of executing your theme? How do you think you can make it stand out more or stronger?
Um, well, I think connecting it to something personal, which is like what I kind of like wrote my essays about. Well, I haven't wrote like my college essays yet, but kind of like the topics, um, and connecting it to something like that, your story, your background, and but then the activity wise, I guess like just talking with professors and doing research that way.
Okay, doing research. What are other things that you could do to maybe like strengthen this extracurricular section?
Um,
Doing research.
um, if you're like a great writer, you can write about it. Um, Maybe connect it to creative writing, um, connect it to like debate. Um, but for me, I'm not sure what I would do to strengthen that.
Well, it sounds like you have a club that you're working on, and that's part of your theme of like improving your community, right? So we have what's the name of the club that you're starting called?
It's called Student Alliance.
Student Alliance. You have the Student Alliance Club. Alliance. And then there might be, it sounds like a research opportunity that you can, if you like cold email a bunch of professors, that might have turned into something. There's a lot of different other things that you could do, but I think like if you focus on what activities you really enjoy and how can you help your community and like what's that intersection, then this section would be a lot stronger.
Okay. Yeah.
So what do you think that is for you? Like where do you feel like the intersection is between things you really like and how you can improve your community?
Mm, that's so hard to say too, because I think like I was like planning on getting like the research with a professor and internship junior year, and then that didn't happen. And so it's like I'm still looking for more to see, something I'm really interested in. Um but for right now, I guess it's pretty hard to say, I think. But if I had to like dial it down, I would just dial it to the clubs I'm in.
Okay. And so let's talk about the research with the professor. It sounds like you want to do it junior year. What prevented you from kind of getting there?
Um, just like being focused with schoolwork and grades. Um,
Okay.
yeah, I felt
What
like
do
I
you think?
couldn't devote like enough to that yet.
Okay. And then how much time do you think it would take to devote to that? Like per day or per week, kind of.
hmm I think like writing an email maybe like 2 hours, and then maybe like finding 3 or 5 professors per day and then sending it that way, or sending it to
Okay.
them.
Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely. I feel like once you have the email down, And there's a template in the book. So I don't know if you saw it. It's in the East section.
Yeah, I've like screenshotted like so many different temples for it, but I don't know. I guess I just really want to write the email great. I
You
have it
really want to.
I have like the downloadable version of the book pulled up, but
Okay.
I'll look at that.
Yeah, it's on page 95. That's where there's a template. And this is the same template I've used to do hundreds and hundreds of interviews with people. So it's like, I would say personalize it so that it's based on their industry, but keep it really short because people are super busy.
Right.
Just like make it a small ask. That's why I say like 15 to 20 minutes. You don't want to ask for too much time, but you want to ask for just like enough so you can get some questions in. Yeah, so it sounds like time is kind of stopping you. It sounds like you have all the templates. What do you think's kind of preventing you now? Like, what advice would you have given to yourself a year ago if you're like, I want to be able to talk to a professor?
I guess like don't be discouraged since like I guess sometimes like the more I'm looking into the process, the more discouraged I get. Just because like there's just a lot of like factors that you can't control, but yeah, that might not be considered. But I guess just like don't put it off, and just like I guess it could just start with like 2 words, and then you can just like start just like typing, because like yeah, I've just like seen just online students doing that, and then I didn't even know you could do that until this year, and so I was just like, this is like something so great, and so I guess like just tell myself to just do it, I guess.
It's super difficult. I mean, I think it's something that like it's almost like that there is a high chance of failure in some ways, right? Like people are going to get back to you, and so it's discouraging in that way. And I definitely feel that way. But once you get like that one call and you get on a call and you like learn more about your career, it's so rewarding to be able to talk to a professional that's in something 5 years from now that you might be in. So
Yeah.
I really like your suggestion with like writing 2 words. They say that also for like when I was writing like this book, I was super discouraged because it's like just such a long thing to write, and I wanted to make sure it had the best advice. A lot of perfectionism going on, but yeah, sometimes it's like I'm just gonna write gibberish for 2 minutes and warm up my hands, and then I'll write for like 10 minutes, and don't make it like too much of an ask on you. Do you feel like you could spend maybe 10 minutes per day to work on this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still like I'm pretty nervous, like what can I like say, like I don't know anything, so like but I think like
Okay.
I just knew that I had to like devote like a good number of hours per week to that, and so I don't think that I could I was best equipped to do that, or equipped to do that junior year, and so I guess I like hated now, and then I was like, okay, I'll do it senior year. So
Yeah.
yeah, just like I think that is what stopped me, but yeah, that's like great advice that I'll do. But yeah, I'm definitely able to spend just like 20 minutes, 15 minutes per day, and then start sending it to professors.
Yeah. I think just like a little bit of time every day, if you could make it something like super easy for you to think about, it's kind of like there's a trick with flossing your teeth. So, like flossing your teeth, the idea of it is for a lot of people, including me, it's a huge pain in the butt. Like you have to go through every teeth and everything. And so the advice is floss just one tooth. And so once you get the floss out and you floss one tooth, you're like, why would I not floss the rest of my teeth, right? So maybe it's like what you mentioned, type 2 words, and then you're gonna be on the computer like, why would I not just finish this? Like why can't I?
Yeah, I heard that too, and I honestly like sometimes I like have to think about that, like when waking up, like just get up, and then I'm like, oh, you can lay back down, but then once I'm up, I'm like, oh, like I'm up. and I don't
Yeah.
ever lay back down again. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like the getting started part.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that's really helped me with just reaching my goals is having an accountability partner. So I often find like you have the goal, but you don't necessarily know when you're going to do the goal, so it never happens. Who in your life do you feel like might be able to help you keep you accountable for 10 minutes per day working on cold emailing?
Honestly, I like my mom.
Yeah,
I would say, yeah. Um,
your
I guess,
mom.
yeah, but it's mainly just like me telling myself that since she doesn't like know much about any of this college stuff. But yeah,
Okay. So
yeah,
maybe
like
she could.
her keeping me, yeah, sorry, like her keeping me accountable, I guess.
Okay, that sounds good. So your mom can keep you accountable, and then what's a reward that you'll give to do it, to doing it? How can you make it satisfying?
Honestly, the reward is like at the end, the college, but like I guess day by day, the reward, just to see like progress, I guess.
Okay.
Um,
How can you show progress? How can you see the progress for yourself so it's rewarding?
um, I guess writing down your goals and then maybe like seeing like how you're getting closer day by day, and I guess writing down what you did that day.
Okay, writing down what you did that day.
Yeah. So I sometimes like for me it's hard to see like what I'm getting out of the things I'm doing
Yeah,
right now, but yeah, I think writing down is something that you can like then see.
for
Yeah.
sure. I do that every single day. Like I have a checklist and I just like check. Sometimes if I do things and it's not on the checklist, I'll write it down and then check it off because I'm like so much satisfaction for writing it down and feeling
Mhm.
like it's accomplished. But yeah, it's really important to be able to reward yourself along the way because it is really hard. In the beginning, it's going to be really hard to send that first email. But by the 10th email, how do you think you're going to feel?
Like it's gonna be like ritual to you. It's like gonna be like habit.
Exactly. And so what things do you like really enjoy for fun that maybe you can reward yourself with?
I would say volleyball.
Okay.
Being active. Yeah.
So is there a way to maybe say, hey, I'm going to spend 20 minutes today on writing a template and sending just one template. I'm going to send one template, one email to one professor, maybe the UNC one, because like you have a reason to email her, you relate to her story. Is there a way to connect that with, okay, like I'll do this and then I can go play volleyball? Or how does that kind of work for scheduling volleyball stuff?
Um, that is difficult to find like a like a, a net and a court to play on. Um, but I guess like that would work. Um,
Is there something different maybe that you could reward yourself with?
reading. I have like a long list of books, and so I think that's
Okay,
actually what I'm doing right now. Yeah.
so it could be something like I spend 20 minutes at the library. I go to the library and I send one email and then I get to go pick a book off the bookshelf and I read or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How do you think that's going to pan out? Like doing that, like going to the library, sending one email and reading.
I think that will work. I guess like it just starts with like telling myself, like to put some time away for hours per week, so that like if I do once a professor will like accept my emails or or me wanting a research opportunity, that I'm actually like willing to and able to put away like maybe like mm, 6 hours per week for that.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Do you have that time right now?
um, I'm not sure. I think like if it comes to it, I definitely will, since that's like an opportunity like that I can't really pass on. Um, but I'm not sure if like professors are like taking the opportunities right now.
How would you know? How can you find out?
Oh yeah, like just because I thought it was summer and that they wouldn't do that. But I guess like emailing them right now would work. No.
Yeah, totally. I think emailing them right now could work. I mean, what's the worst thing that could happen? You send an
Mm-hmm.
email, what happens?
You just get like no reply or like a no from them is the
And is
worst.
that really that bad?
It's not.
Okay. And what happens if you're sending like 100 of these emails?
Um, then you'll just get like closer to getting a yes, or you'll just get more no's.
Yeah, I think like as long as you're getting a couple yeses, then you'll be good. But it does take a lot of emails sometimes. It helps to start in your community because they're more likely to like they have something in common with you. They might live in the same town as you. And so if
Mm-hmm.
you can find someone in North Carolina, in Raleigh, that is an urban planner, that might be you can send like 30 emails and get like a bunch of responses versus 100. That might be like more efficient for you or more
Mm-hmm.
cost, yeah, time efficient for you.
Right.
So let's talk about the V step now. What's the V step?
Um, Validate your credibility.
How do you feel about this step? Have you received any awards, scholarships, special mentions? Kind of how have you really like shown the impact that you've had?
Yeah, this one is like something I'm not strong on. Um, like with rewards, that's definitely not something I have a lot of. Um, but I think like starting that is like just like entering yourself in contest on things you like doing.
Mm-hmm. What are some ideas for you? Like what kinds of things could you enter?
I I'm honestly not sure. I was looking at some writing ones, but I'm not like a an outstanding writer or something like that. Um, so honestly, not sure on which ones I would apply to. Um,
What do you think would be like programs or awards that would look good kind of with your community service theme?
um, with community service, mm,
If you're not sure, how can you find out? How can you find these opportunities? What would you do to kind of figure out these contests, these scholarships, etc.?
well, I would see them like hear about the if there's even a contest like from other students, like hearing about them online. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, pretty much that I haven't been doing, like applying to contests and stuff like that.
So where do you hear about them right now? Contests and things like that.
Um, I haven't been hearing much, um, but I guess just like from like on social media, when you see like different um well, it's like I'll like watch college students talk about what they did in high school, and then they'll talk about those contests. And then I'll
Okay.
like, search up the contest, but that may or may not be, um, open currently.
Okay. Gotcha. What types of contests do you think would be fun to enter?
Mm, Honestly, I guess creative contests, but that's so much. I guess a all I know of is like writing contests, to be honest.
And
Um,
do you enjoy writing, or is that how do you feel about writing?
I don't think that's definitely not like a niche of mine, since
Okay.
yeah. Um,
What subjects do you enjoy?
mm, I thought I enjoyed like I guess history, and so I wanted to like submit a writing to the Concord Review. I know that takes like uh a lot to do, and like I did talk like if I could see if there was like a history teacher that I could kind of like ask to research more about like what I'm going to write about. But that's like hard because so many like teachers are super busy. But I think like I'm starting to have like a topic for that, and then I think I'm just gonna like write um, for there instead of like a contest, just because like I don't think that I have like a spike to do that, I guess.
I mean, there are also like community stuff. So you've done a lot of stuff in the community, and I think like I guess it really depends on what do you think, where do you think you can make the most impact? Like in terms of you leave the community and people will remember you for doing this. Is it the kind of like the work that you're doing at the library? Is it the work that you're doing at the park? Is it the work that you're doing at the Boys and Girls Club? Is it the work that you're doing in your high school? Where do you feel like you can make the biggest difference?
Well, for the library, that one, I'm not doing that right now since they closed that off during COVID, and mm, I guess would like clubs count? I think I would say like the club that I'm creating, since that's something like I guess that I would consider that to be the first extracurricular that I actually started or created.
It would definitely count. So I guess like when you think about the impact that you can make with that club, what do you want it to be
Um, just
at the end in your year?
um, providing resources to students would just be like the
Okay.
ultimate impact. Yeah, and then like equalizing the just like education.
Okay. So you want to I want to kind of like get this impact really good so that it's like almost like a resume bullet for you, and then you could kind of like prioritize your activities based on that. So you said you want to provide resources. So what? Like, why do people care about these resources? What's the point?
Um, so that they can so that they have access to help.
Okay, so what? They have access to help. Now what?
So they can utilize that help.
And then what's the purpose of utilizing that help? Why is it
Um,
important?
so that they can attain their like academic goals. Um,
Okay.
yeah.
And so
Um,
how could you make that more specific? If you could say like I helped X people do what?
mhm. I could say like I helped a number of students um, maybe like with like help within our school, like telling them about what the school has going on or what the school is like currently having classes available and stuff like that. That would help students, or like um, the scholarship, or like um, just like telling students about maybe volunteer opportunities outside of the school, and
Okay.
then like yeah, doing something in that.
So if you did a really good job of what you just said, so scholarships, the class opportunities, like the nursing program, what would be the result of that? Like these students that you helped at the end of college, at the end of high school, how would they be different? How would their life change?
Um, well, they would be closer to whatever they wanted to reach, um, and
Okay.
then yeah.
Okay.
um,
So how could you measure that how can you make that more specific and measure that goal?
um, I guess like saying like how many students I specifically helped and then what I did to help them, and then
Yeah.
listing that.
Yeah, for sure. It could be something like, excuse me.
Bless you.
It could be something like I helped increase the nursing program awareness by or I helped 5 people join the nursing program through spreading awareness of the program at my school or something.
Mm-hmm.
How would that feel if like you kind of made that type of impact on these students?
It would feel great.
Yeah.
Yeah. If seeing if our club if students are actually like I guess um doing it, I guess, and I'm actually seeing a change in the classes they're taking and how they feel about their teachers, because I know a lot of my peers are I feel like this teacher is scary or stuff like that, but then just approaching I guess these opportunities differently.
So maybe it's something around improving the relationship between students and teachers, or number of times that you've helped people kind of make that first introduction to even talking to the teacher outside of class. How would that feel if you helped 10 people go to their first teacher office hour?
That would be very meaningful. As it's that means what I'm doing, it's actually doing something for other people.
Yeah. And how would that help teachers too?
Now they have they've kind of strengthened their bond with students.
Yeah, for sure. I think this project could be really amazing. I think it's a great idea, and I would love to kind of see you work more on this throughout the summer, kind of building it out.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sweet. So, okay, V, it sounds like there's kind of some work on this, and it's really about the impact on your community. So you could potentially strengthen the V, to validate your credibility, by working really hard on this club that you're starting. If you could show these real results between increasing maybe people going to office hours, maybe people hearing about the nursing program and enrolling in it, or maybe there's even other programs. I know at my school we had a photography program, we had a auto shop program. There's a lot of different programs, and so a lot of students might not be aware of that, and you can help them figure out what they really want to do with their career. Get started. Yeah. All right. So the last one is E. What does E stand for? The last one.
Earn your SAT/ACT scores. Exam
So
scores.
what's kind of, yes, exactly. So how do you feel about this step?
Well, currently I'm definitely retaking the SAT, since that's what I'm focused on. And then I'm waiting for my score that I took on June 8th, I believe.
Okay.
So I'm waiting for that. And then hoping to take it one more time or 2 more times. And then for the ACT, I'm planning on I sent my score naively sent my score when I didn't know what my score was, because you were able to send it for free if you did it in the first 2 days. And so I did that, but my score, I'm not happy with it. I don't think it represents what me. And so my counselor said to call the colleges that you sent them to, and then ask if that's if how's that going to be considered when I apply to them. So yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. And so when I took the SAT, I got a really low score. It was at 2,400. I think I got something like 1,800 out of 20. It was very, very low and definitely not acceptable for good schools. And so it sucks when I just know how much it sucks when your score doesn't really reflect your academic rigor and your intellectual potential. So know that you're not alone. There's a lot of people that are not just like naturally good at these scores, and I think sometimes people make it out to be like, oh, I got this awesome score, but really they studied a lot for it, or maybe they took it their third time, or fourth time, or fifth time, and it feels like you're maybe behind because you didn't get it the first time. Mm-hmm. So it's not going to kill your application. However, it is important to study and to get a higher score that reflects where you think you should be. So kind of what's your plan with improving your score? And what's your target score? What's that goal score for you?
Well, I did in your book, I did like read that, like you studied a lot for the ACT, I believe, and
yes.
And so like, you know, taking just so many practice tests per day, and so I think that's like something that I'll do, and definitely like give myself ample time before the next SAT date. And then my target score, I think it's honestly like I just haven't taken a math or reading class, like a regular one, before I took my first SAT, that I was like, well, you know, like this is, I like don't remember any of this, and so I guess like, so I was aiming for higher, but I think that like to be more realistic, I guess maybe like I know like a 1400, that's definitely not considered high, but I guess like a 1350 is what I'm kind of aiming for now. Yeah.
Okay. And then when you look at schools, so when you think about like your dream schools, the way that you want to kind of think about SAT scores, you want to be on the 75th percentile of the range. And so if a school's range is say 1200 to 1300, then you want to hit 1300. And so I'd say for you, when you want to pick your target score, it's important to research the colleges that you want to apply to and see what that upper kind of range is so that you're competitive in that applicant pool. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And then adjust the expectations based on your score.
Yeah.
Of that. But it is possible to get a much higher score. It just takes a lot of practice, practice tests and stuff. Okay, so what's kind of what study strategies have you done? So like when you took your test, how did you study for it?
Well, actually the first two I like didn't even, so, and I know that's terrible to say, but yeah, that's like, that was super bad. I like honestly the second one I took, it was during finals, so I was studying for finals, and then the first one, I don't really remember when that was, but I think that was just like during classes, and so I was just not able to study. But we like did study a bit, but I don't think that helped for the first one. And then yeah, but like right now, like during the summer, I'm looking to go on like Khan Academy and on varsity tutors, and then go to that and study.
Okay.
Yeah, and take just hopefully like a practice test like per day as I like get closer to it.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, it's definitely, I would not recommend taking it if you haven't studied for it. It's like it is a test that the more that you know the structure and the kinds of questions that they ask, the way easier it will be for you. Because it's very overwhelming if you've like never taken the test. It's like 4 hours long, so you kind of get burnt out because it's like all new to you. So yeah. I would not like rely on your first score. I think you can do a lot better than that with taking practice tests.
Right. Yeah, and I think like with those standardized tests, focusing on like I guess the subject that you're really good at, and so like if you're like great at math and, focusing on the questions that you didn't know and then like memorizing the formulas and so that you can really maximize your math score.
Yes.
For me, that was more of like reading, and so I think I'll do more of that. But I know like for math, just like even knowing a formula or a word problem could have like helped my math score. So yeah, looking at that.
That makes sense. So it's like the reading practice, it sounds like that's kind of like your area you want to focus on. Maybe that's where your lower scores are. So focusing that area will kind of boost you. Is that right? Kind of like the reading sections, the worst.
No, my math score was lower than my reading. So
okay.
Yeah.
So maybe the math stuff and memorizing the formulas on that. That makes sense. So based on kind of going through the achieve steps, where do you feel like you're doing the best and where do you feel like you want to kind of spend more time on to get stronger?
I think validating credibility, something like that. That's like, well, it's important to not only it's important, I guess, for like how you think of yourself, because like when you get a rejection, you can look back and see like, oh, but like, I have this and like I'm sure of myself that like I'm capable and stuff like that. And so I think that's why the V is important, along with like, to really show your potential. And I think I have just like so much to work on that it might be like overwhelming. But I guess yeah.
I think that's kind of like why I wrote the book is I think that a lot of advice on the internet, a lot of college admissions books, they just give you a lot of information and they don't tell you what's the most important thing. And so I really intended the achieve system to be chronological. And so if you feel like step A is good, then you can move to the second step. And when you finish the second step, you move to the third step. And so kind of where do you feel like you are on like step 1, step 2, step 3?
Well, I definitely think towards the end, like the I to the E. So yeah. Those are things that I want to think about and hopefully work on. But I guess like just strengthening my theme and making it more clear. But you can also have people that are like really strong in like 3 different things. They like apply to 3 different majors when applying to colleges, and so yeah, like also so that means like also doing stuff that you also love.
Yeah, I think like your intuition's right. Like I would say in terms of the steps, I is probably the next step that I think you should go back to step 2 though, since you haven't done an activities audit, and really question the activities that you're doing, because the less time that you have for kind of you're starting your club or reaching out to like doing activities that make a difference. And I think for you, the I step, like talking to people in urban planning, figuring out why you want to do urban planning or not. Maybe you find a whole another career that would be good for you in that. I think that's going to help you execute your theme. Because if you don't know what you really want to do, it's really hard to build your activities around that.
Right, yeah. I think like, well, for now, I think I would just like lead on to urban planning. And then once I get to college, like I have the ability to change my major.
Yeah, you can, but it's going to be, I guess like where you're going to run into issues is they're going to ask you it in your college application, like why are you interested in urban planning? And if it's going to be difficult to answer that if you don't really know what it is. Similarly, when you get interviewed for the colleges, they're going to be like, oh, what are you interested in? What are you thinking about? You're going to say urban planning. They're going to say, oh, wow, like that's so awesome. How did you pick that? Like, why? And I guess, do you feel like you have a good answer for that right now?
I don't think saying like, oh, it just because like my extracurriculars it seemed to like go in that direction would be like the best. But I think I guess like saying how it matches with my story, I guess, and then like why a community is important to me would be why, I think.
Okay. I guess like, and then they would ask you like, how have you talked to any urban planners before? Have you ever interned with an urban planner before? Do you know what they really do? Because I think there's usually, I found this like, I had this vision of what a lawyer was going to be like, and I thought it was going to be a lot of trials and public speaking, things I really enjoy. And then I interned with 2 lawyers, I interned with a judge, and I saw a completely different picture of what it was actually like. And that's not what I want to do. Like what I saw was like, okay, that's not what I'm interested in.
Oh, okay. I see. Yeah. Okay, so I think that's like something that I would do then, is to reach out to many like professors or those who like are in that field, and then see what they do.
Yeah, I think that's going to be a really good step. So when do you think you can do that in like the next week? And how are you going to keep yourself accountable to doing that?
I think just like taking it week by week is usually how I like do my schedule, and so like I guess it starts with like, as you said, like the local colleges, and then calling those, and then attending the college tours, and then seeing that is what I'll do. But then just like maybe like I know like college tours they'll have them on the weekend, and so I can do that.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but just like I guess like reaching out to colleges, I guess, and spending
Yeah, I
like
think
like a couple of hours
per day, per week, kind of when
I
it's
think,
really important to have a top like when you're going to do something because like ultimately it just kind of slides into the background with everything else.
right. I think on the weekends will work
Okay.
best.
Okay.
But I hope that like they're available during that time. But yeah, spending just a couple of hours on the weekends.
Okay. Doing what? Emails on weekends.
Um, mm, I guess well like calling them, um, and then seeing if there's maybe like someone that I can shadow or ask like more questions like an email or stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. It's like, can you kind of maybe start off with some emails and ask a couple questions that you have about the profession, about the urban planning major? I saw that you kind of like looked at some colleges that had that, which I thought was really awesome. And then from there, you can maybe like hop on a call once they've asked your initial question. That makes it much easier for them. Okay, so we've gone through all the steps. How did you what was helpful about kind of walking through this? What would you maybe like change about the system or do something different for this call?
Well, this really helped. Like, I knew like my activities I had to work on more, but it's made me realize like um, I guess it's more attainable than I think. And I think I'll change mm, like well, just like being more precise on like where I'm spending my time, which is important, and then thinking about like asking myself like the why, like you talked about, just like why, which will really lead down to like why am I doing this, what impact am I hoping to make,
Yeah,
so yeah, and
nice.
especially like working on the system. I think that system is really helpful, the Achieve system.
Awesome. How did you kind of feel like in terms of your preparation for college planning before Ivy Guides and Ivy League systems, like on a scale of 1 to 5, and then how do you feel now on a scale of 1 to 5 in terms of how prepared do you feel like for your next step?
I think well before I'm like a one or something like that. Like if one was the lowest. And then after Ivy League Guide I'd say um maybe a 3.7 7.
Getting really precise. What do you think's changed for you? Like, what's kind of from the beginning to now?
Well, like, getting help from very like credible people, like you, and just feeling more like confident in like moving forward, because you would be like, like, why, ask yourself, like, why didn't you do it? Why'd you let it, time pass? And then, yeah.
Yeah, things don't, like, in order to do something, it really requires a lot of motivation, and it's important to ask yourself that question of why, so that you can learn from your previous like mistakes of why you didn't get something done. And it could be like, hey, I just don't feel comfortable writing an email. It feels like such a big deal. And so it's like, okay, how can I make myself more comfortable? Like when I was writing this book, I was emailing a lot of deans of admission to read and review the book. And I spent 3 weeks writing emails. I didn't send a single email, but like every morning I would like work on emails, and I didn't send them because I was so scared. I was nervous to put myself out there. And it kind of, the way that I kind of got over it was I was talking to a friend, and she was asking, how is it going? How is emailing and deans of admission? And I was so embarrassed. I hadn't sent a single one because I was just so focused on making it so perfect. But that doesn't make a difference if it's perfect, because I didn't even send it to anyone. So then I went and I like made myself a goal, and I told myself I have to send 5 today. And that kind of made me get started on that.
Okay. Yeah. So it's like building confidence in yourself.
I think it's building confidence, but also realizing that it's never going to be good enough. The email that you draft, the worst thing that can happen is what?
A no or no reply.
You just don't respond. And is it really that bad?
Right, yeah.
And then what's the good thing that can happen from it? Like, how could you be sending like 10 emails, like you get one back? How would that feel? How would that change your career?
Yeah, that would that's just like a whole new, like, now it's like becoming more real, and like, I guess, I don't want to say professional, but it's like, it's just like becoming more real, because it's like you're talking to someone who has like so much published work and stuff like that.
Yeah. And they have probably a lot of good advice for you, and maybe other opportunities they could connect you with. I would say like the worst thing that could happen that I see like is that students get into careers that they don't know anything about, and then they find out too late, and they spent like, I don't know, 3 years pursuing something that they don't actually enjoy the reality of. How would that feel if you like wasted 3 years versus spending a couple hours sending some emails to actually learn more about the career?
You would feel like you want to go back and talk to more people in there, and like go over being uncomfortable and nervous, so that you could have, yeah, instead of like doing like just like being unhappy in your place, I guess.
Totally. Yeah, it's not fun being uncomfortable, like reaching out, putting yourself out there. But the more that you do it, the more opportunities you're going to get, and the more you're going to actually move closer to doing what you want to do in the future. But it sounds like right now it's a little unclear, and so I think for you, like the biggest thing that could make a difference is actually nailing down the I, and then kind of moving from there.
Okay. Yeah.
How would that feel like after just, let's say like 1 month from now, you've talked to 3 urban planners? How would that feel, do you think?
I think that I would just like be that would feel like great, right? Because like I've moved forward. But I think that I would like have hardened my interest in that, and show that I have I'm like kind of more serious about this now that I've talked to people um, who are in that field.
Yeah, no, I think so too. And I think it's going to be good, not just for your college experience, because it's going to help you have a stronger theme and more specific, because you're right, a lot of people apply as community service, so it's like, how can you get really specific? Well, you could say, like, I'm really interested in urban planning, and here are the ways I've shown them interest in urban planning based on my activities. And so that would be a lot stronger, so it's good for college, but it's also like 10 years down the line, maybe you become an urban planner, or maybe you find out urban planning isn't what you want to do from these calls, and that's really amazing to know as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet.
I guess it's like just good to realize early on.
Totally. And so you've come a long way since you first started kind of on your college journey. And so if you could kind of look back and ask and give advice to when you were a 1 out of 5, what would you have told yourself?
I guess like, well, like, again, like, it will never be perfect, like you just said. I think that's like great. And then I think like I'll keep that in the back of my mind for the essays. So
yeah, writing, totally.
Yeah. And I guess just like it's just like it's just harder, like it's easier to be dissatisfied than like, happy and move on. Or it's like easier to be dissatisfied, I meant. But just like do what you can at the moment.
Do what you can at the moment.
I'm not good with quotes, but yeah.
No, I like that it will never be perfect, because I think that a lot of people struggle with that, of trying to get the perfect, like I have a friend, for instance, he's really into music. He's been working on a song for, I think, 3-4 years now, but hasn't put out anything because it's not perfect yet. And I'm like, just keep on saying, hey, like, you need to put it out there so that you can get feedback. And it's like, what would happen if I told myself I need it how did you find me?
Through social media. I believe like Instagram.
Okay, on Instagram. So what would have happened if I wanted to make the perfect Instagram post or the perfect video, and then never put myself out there?
Right.
How would things be different?
Then you wouldn't have reached as many people as you have right now. And then
I couldn't be able to, and I could be able to be on this call with you right now and chat with you about your college journey and kind of help you with this process. If I was constantly thinking that I needed a video or anything to be perfect. And so I would kind of question that thought more and see if you can kind of email more people and urban planners and professors. I think that would make a huge difference for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, sweet. So I've kind of like come to the end of all my questions. I kind of want to check in with you. Do you have any other questions that you want me to answer, or kind of things about your next step with I
guess like, well, like, do you think that it would be too late if I didn't? Because I did only choose it because I thought like it wasn't competitive and that my extracurriculars just like kind of coincidentally match with it. But if I like, because I don't think I'm looking to be an urban planner when I'm older, and that is like pretty, I guess like unrelated to securities law. And so do you think it would be like too late to kind of start and redirect myself?
I don't think, okay, so I guess like let's kind of take a step back, and let's say we're talking to your 80-year-old self, 80-year-old Tiffany. What do you think 80-year-old Tiffany would say to you? I'm guessing you're probably 16 or 17. So 16. What do you think she would say to you about, hey, is it too late to change at 16?
Yeah, I know. I think it's really ridiculous to think like to ask myself it's too late at the age of 16, but I think just like comparing myself to other people like with like sports and stuff like that, it would be like kind of too late if I started like a sport right now and like or like senior year if I like just started just activities that then were unrelated to urban planning, because then that would be like less than a year of experience, and so that's why I like ask myself right now.
Yeah, no, I think it's a really good question. It's because like you are only a few months away from applying to colleges, and it is kind of crunch season. But I think the question that I would want to ask you is like, what's kind of more important? Like doing an extracurricular that's maybe more in line with what you want to do in the future, and then like, would you have lost anything by changing your career direction and trying something different?
Mm, well, no, you wouldn't.
What's the worst that can happen, I guess? Like you change direction and say like, hey, actually I'm interested in law.
Mm-hmm.
I guess what would happen in that instance if we planned it out?
I guess like building from scratch and like starting over again.
Okay. That could be one kind of thing. And so is that really true that you're building from scratch?
I think like you will have to kind of show that you're serious about the change, as in like why did you want to change, and like the activities, and like in other ways that showing why, like for example, like securities law might be important to me.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that's like a bit harder, since it's like less like it's kind of like, oh, it just like kind of came out of nowhere, that interest.
How do you know you're interested in securities law?
I just always like wanted to get in, just like the business side, but I didn't like, it's not like I wanted to be like, I want to start a company or like sell something to people, but more on like, I guess, finance, which is,
Okay.
yeah.
What's kind of led you to that interest?
Um, to securities law. Um,
Or to finance? It sounds like you're interested in finance.
mhm. I think just like I guess seeing like the wealth gap in many places, is what, and then just like learning more about companies and like how that finance works for them, I guess.
Okay. It sounds, I think like it might be worth reaching out to both sets of people if so like urban planners and securities lawyers to kind of see what direction you want to go. It's okay to change and you can kind of talk about like how you've explored your interests. I think so overall like colleges are more interested in you knowing a clear direction. And so right now it's not clear. I think you have kind of two conflicting things. And so figuring that out for you, you can kind of tailor why you're doing your activities towards that career. For example, say you want to go into law and maybe you decide, hey, like my theme is going to be, I'm going to be helping people in the community with legal advice for small claims court, or I'm going to become a mediator. And so you can kind of describe, hey, I'm doing these activities in my community to get involved so that I could, because active participation in the community will lead to more awareness of this program or something. Like there are ways that you can connect it. And so I'd be less concerned about that and more focused on figuring out what career direction you want to go in. Because if you go urban planning route and you're applying to urban planning programs and you get into those programs, well, one, you want to find out if that college is separate from the other colleges since you can't transfer. I think that's important to understand. But I guess like, what's the benefit of you kind of already knowing what you want to do when you go to college instead of having this divide?
Well, the benefit is like, well, you won't have to change, and so you'll know like from the get go what you want to take. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, like what you said, like if that school is like separate from that, I think that's like what I'm worried about, like since I will be applying to urban planning, but I already like plan on changing the major once I get to college. It's kind of like a
Yeah.
weird situation.
Yeah. I think it's gonna be. It's. I mean, it depends on the colleges that you're applying to, but yeah, it's so like I applied as a philosophy major because I wanted to be law, and so like that related. But I ended up changing to economics, and that's okay at a school like Harvard where it's not separate majors like separate college is in that major, but some other colleges might be more difficult, and then you might be stuck in that major. And how would that be like?
Oh, that would be like oh, this is bad because like I like planned on something different and then it just didn't
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah, no, for sure. So, what do you think is going to make the most difference in the next week? What action would you want to take to make the most difference for you in the next week?
Seeing if urban planning is like actually something that I want to get into
Mm-hmm.
by reaching out to urban planners. Um, and I think that is what is gonna like really, if I don't like it, like just change the whole thing. And then
Yeah.
if I don't end up liking it, then I guess like then seeing if I like securities law and like and then talking with lawyers in that around that area.
Yeah, totally. That makes sense. I think that's a great next step. I think for you, if you figure out urban planning is a good fit, then like you have more conviction that you want to go that way and can apply the right programs for it. And if you find out it's not the right fit, then you can pick another activity. Like you can interview lawyers and kind of figure out if that's what you want to do, and that's okay too. Like you have how many more years of your life to kind of figure out what you want to do?
Mm, like before college or after?
Even after college.
Um, like 6.
6 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then also, like, people change careers all the time. In the
Mhm.
past, it used to be like our parents' generation, they pick one career and kind of stick with it. But our generation is completely different because you can change careers multiple times in your lifetime. You,
Mhm.
you can, like, switch around, and that's okay. So I would say, like, don't stress out about getting it perfect, about figuring out the perfect thing, but just start figuring out, like, hey, is this where I want to go? Just test one route for urban planning. Well, I'm excited to hear how that goes. Definitely check back with me. I want to hear how like your interviews with urban planners go, how your outreach goes, and I'm excited to keep in touch. Thank you so much for being on Future Ivy.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Amy. Like this really, really helped. And
I'm so
yeah.
Go ahead.
But yeah, this was really helpful. The book, I haven't finished it yet, but I will continue reading and I will finish that. Um but this kind of just like opened up your brain and made you like realize more. Like I thought my whole issue was with activities, but I guess you're saying like start with your interests, and I guess that is really what matters. Because this is kind of what you're doing. Like all of this is for, right? Your passion. Um, and so yeah, I think that's important to remember.
Yeah,
And so
definitely. I think like go ahead. Sorry.
no, this made me realize that, and so I'm really glad that I was able to come on here today.
Yeah, thank you so much. I love getting to know you more, Tiffany. I think that you have a lot of the similar things that relate to other students. Like it's hard to reach out to people you don't know. Um, it can be tough to kind of think about, hey, do I want to change focus when I'm so close to applying to colleges? But ultimately, the goal of college is so it's going to prepare you for your future career, and it can only do that if you kind of have a direction and conviction of like what you want to do. And so I'd say last leaving comment is like just doesn't need to be perfect. Hit the
Mm-hmm.
send button as many times as possible next week. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. Talk to you later. Bye, Tiffany.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you. All right. That was Tiffany. That was an awesome conversation. I really enjoyed talking to her about the Achieve system. I think in this case, it was really the I that needed more work. Being able to figure out what you want to do in the future through informational interviews is going to help you with your theme. And then once you have your theme, you can pick the extracurriculars or modify your current extracurriculars so that it can support your theme and you can become a standout student for colleges. This is the Future Ivy Show, and if you're interested in learning more about the Achieve system, the Future Ivy book is on Amazon, and we will be taking more applicants for the show coming up, and so make sure to join my email list, which we linked below, so that you can find out when the application opens up again. All right, this is Amy at Ivy League Guide, and remember, you can achieve anything that you set your mind to. Have a good day.